YouTube, ATA, and welcome back to One Up. It's me, Uthapen Dragon, and today I have something new. As I said in my control review video, I was trying to come up with a new name for the series since people are bringing to my attention that I'm a few years off the review date. Firstly, I know, and secondly, I grew up kind of poor, so I could only begin to afford all the snazzy stuff after I opened up my own business and started earning my own money. And now, I can finally afford to chase my dreams of being a gamer and share my experiences with you smellers. So here I am today introducing the new series of me sharing my thoughts on games I've recently played. Now, what I mean by this is I'm going to play games and give you guys the full feedback of what I felt like playing those games. Now, this series is going to be targeted around mainly the AAA games or the mainstream games. I will still be doing the should you play videos, but that'll be mostly targeted around games that people don't really know much about, like games that fall on deaf ears, like the caca games. So if you enjoy hearing my attractive voice and want to see more of my videos, do not forget to interact with the like and subscribe button. It would truly make my day, and it is entirely free. So without any more sob stories and tutorials, let's get busy. Today we are going to be taking a look into Horizon Forbidden West. So I finally got the opportunity to get my hands on Horizon Forbidden West. I played the first one, Horizon Zero Dawn, and fell very deeply in love with it. It was the first open world, high graphic game I've played on the PS4, so it holds a very special place in my heart. But unfortunately, I went into Forbidden West on the PS5 with some rather negative reviews from what I would assume to be big YouTubers, and that left a rather nasty taste in my mouth. So I decided to give you guys my experience in the game, what I thought about the game, because their thought about the game was kind of biased in my opinion. So right off the bat, let's get into how the game takes place, which is shortly after the ending of the first game. After being reunited with Val and probably one of the longest tutorials I've ever played, the game educates you on the main focus of the story, which is that Silence, the guy from John Wick, is now trying to capture and use Hades, the main antagonist of Zero Dawn, for his own personal gain, even though he witnessed and was on Aloy's journey majority of the first game while she was struggling to beat Hades. So it was kind of a dookie move that he pulled. So you set off into the world trying to find this Judas and end this fuckery. So let's talk about this world. And good lord, Guerrilla Games will forever hold the place in my heart for creating and designing the most beautiful world I have ever played in. Everything about this world left me in awe majority of the time and truly felt new and not just a copy and paste of the old game. The game has almost every biome, each of which is perfectly designed. You could see that the Guerrilla team put in a ton of time in it and focused greatly on the attention to detail. So big ups to them for that. I found that I spent more time walking around the map and exploring without the use of a mount or the need to rush from one place to another, because I truly enjoyed how much the game had to offer visually. Everything in the world felt reactive, from grass separating while you walked through it, or the sand getting stuck to Aloy's back as she dive rolled through them. Truly insane graphics and attention to detail. Normally, I don't really enjoy sequels to games because they're usually just a way for the company to cash grab, but Guerrilla definitely added a ton of new stuff to the game. Firstly, let's discuss the climbing, which is one of the first things I noticed. The climbing got a serious buff. Before, Aloy could only climb using these little yellow rope things that was hanging off walls and ladders and zip lines and ropes and stuff to indicate that they were interactive. Now you can climb almost every wall and mountain using a very well designed climbing system and some of that yellow climbing stuff from the previous game. Another addition to the mobility is going to be the wing glider Aloy gets from defeating an enemy relatively early in the game. It really adds a level of thank you Lord for not making me climb all the way back down this mother. As well as a rope hook, which opens up various alternate ways to access previously inaccessible areas. Like the rope hook, the game will give you a bunch of other legendary tools that enhance Aloy's abilities, one of which allows Aloy to swim to extreme depths, which is also something new. The game has an entire underwater system throughout the world. Just to give you guys some insight, I have severe thalassophobia, but this game's underwater system and areas were so beautiful and well designed. I truly didn't mind exploring it as much as I could, obviously, because there were some rather unpleasant encounters. So in the previous game, I would always be so irritated that I couldn't override and mount just about every robot. Like, why wasn't that possible? Why couldn't I just mount anything I wanted? Like, it was cheeks that I was stuck with only 2 machines that were mountable. But in Forbidden West, they gave you a few new mountable machines, including, wait for it, a bird. Now, just to pat my own cake, I would like to add that I was going through the game thinking to myself, man, I wish they added a flying mount. And they did, so my predictions are on point, just to let y'all know. As much as I didn't use the mounts too much, as I said, it was still such good additions to the game. Like, I still wish I could have mounted one of those massive robots, but anyway. There's also a whole ton of minor new additions and quality of life changes, like there's storage at your camps throughout the map, so you didn't have to drop or sell anything in order to clear up space in your inventory. There was a few new weapons, there was free fast travel system, there was easier looting, etc. Something else that is new is the Valor Surge. So, after you gain and use a certain amount of skill points, which was relatively easier to get in Forbidden West, because I remember in Zero Dawn, I would spend majority of the game trying to level up, like farming stuff so I could level up. But in Forbidden West, it was relatively easier. You would unlock these special abilities in games, which it kind of added a certain level of quality to the game's caca combat system. And I mean caca. Now hear me out. I always like to look at Horizon like a game that's centered around exploring and beauty, because that's what the game is about actually. Because the game's combat is just smeared cheeks to me. Firstly, she uses a bow and arrow to fight a bunch of monstrous machines that are equipped with deadly weapons. Like, what in the dog box make this okay? A lot of the time the bow felt extremely inconsequential to the machines that I fought, because you're fighting a huge metal machine with a wooden bow and arrow. Now, I understand why this is the case. I truly do. You're meant to use this diverse arsenal of weapons that you're provided with to inflict certain status ailments on the machines and knock off machine parts to make it progressively weaker, and sometimes you'd hit off a weapon of the machine and use the weapon to kill the machine. But boy, did that not work. Firstly, Aloy moves around with these machine weapons as if she's constipated, and the machines were extremely aggressive and fast-paced. They constantly closed the gap, or were in your face, like which was most of the time, leading to your annoying death. The combat with human enemies it wasn't too bad. The melee system definitely got a buff from sneaking around in bushes to get a silent strike on an enemy. And now it's like fully blown anime fight scenes. Even though the combat with humans, like against the human enemies, felt good, having those enemies on your side, like fighting against the machines, it was pointless. So unlike Zero Dawn, Forbidden West had lots of side and main missions in which you had to complete with the game's AIs, the characters in the games. And it was an absolute slaughterfest majority of the time, because the machines would all still just focus you. Like throughout the fight, they would just be like chasing you around, and the AIs would do absolutely nothing about it. You were like left alone throughout the entire time. By the way, the attacks did like 0 damage. Like I would look at this AI fighting this machine, and you would be doing like virtually nothing to that machine. So based on my description of the combat, you can see that it was not my favorite part of the game. But now that we're talking about humans, let's get into the game's NPCs. Which, in my opinion, there is only 2 productions that have truly mastered the art of NPCs. My number 1 spot has to go to Guerrilla Games, and my number 2 goes to Rockstar. But Guerrilla Games for now would probably hold a number 1 spot for a long time, because these NPCs and characters definitely were the best I've ever seen. Guerrilla spends so much of time and effort into these characters, from facial features and expressions to AI design and personality, which contributed to making them so realistic and unique. No matter where you were on the map, you would find a small lived-in town with a colony of NPCs that had their own beliefs, personalities, and problems. Something else that I found so interesting is that the NPCs portray so well how ignorant human beings would be if we weren't educated or with a lack of knowledge. They all looked very different too. Never once did I feel as if they were just copied and pasted. Even the missions that they gave were so well designed. Never once did I feel as if the missions were just put there to make the game feel busy. All the missions were purposeful and definitely rewarding. Most of the time those missions were guiding lamps to certain machine or animal parts that you needed to upgrade, maybe like your bow or your outfit, or just to take you to a place to show off the beauty and the great characteristics of the game that you might have missed if you didn't do that mission. Which I actually appreciate, because majority open worlds think we have time to play games here with their unnecessary and pointless missions. But something that came from the NPCs that truly annoyed me would be the dialogues. Now, a lot of people kind of like this stuff, but truthfully, when I play a game, I legit just want to play the game. Not spend 30 minutes discussing every possible question with an NPC. Now, I appreciate that Guerrilla taking the time to design the dialogue, and I would have kind of entertained it if it came from the main characters only. But every chod you see has like a 50-page essay to discuss with you. Like literally every NPC has the most detailed dialogue to offer the player that majority of the time I wasn't even paying attention to it. Maybe my little baby bird brain couldn't comprehend and retain what was being said, but I can tell you that almost 90% of the game's dialogue and story fell on deaf ears with me, but that's most probably why the game's story confused me. For about 60% of the game, I thought that Silence was going to be the bad guy, but no, it turned out that these advanced couch snuffers were. So these guys are the leaders of the Far Zenith, and they are running from the mistake that they created on their planet, which is what all human beings are known for, by the way. They stumble upon Earth and try to use it as a salvage yard, but not but the hairs of Hertani Chen Chen. Aloy beats them and saves this primitive world, but I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know if I missed something important while I was trying to avoid all the dialogue I could, but the story didn't feel interesting to me at all. It didn't do much to get me attached to the characters of this world either. So unlike the previous game in Forbidden West, you spend a lot of time with the characters, doing missions and interacting with them a bunch in convo, but it still didn't do much of making them an important factor to me. There were potentially heartwarming and sad moments, but the story just fell flat for me. But regardless of this, Horizon will always be one of the most special games I've ever played. It has some slightly caca things about it, but hopefully they fix it in the 3rd edition. And yes, I hope they do make a 3rd edition. Hopefully in space this time. That might be a little interesting. But even with its flaws, the game is so much more than just the sum of its parts. There was definitely a ton of effort put into the game, which made it the most visually beautiful game I have ever played. And also with replayability being kinda high, it makes this game's rather high price tag kinda worth it. So for me, I give this game a solid 8 out of 10. And that, my friend, is going to bring us to the end of this video. I really hope that you enjoyed this new series, and if you did, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. We have to help each other on this platform, guys. It'll mean the world to me. And I'm pretty sure that you guys will be interested to know what I have to say about the next game. So thank you for watching my videos, and I'll see you in the next one.